In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon our beloved Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, his family, his companions, and all those who follow his guidance until the day of judgment. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, today I want to talk about a topic that touches the hearts of every single believer. The understanding that Allah is the best planner. Life as we know it is full of uncertainties. We face challenges, we experience moments of happiness, and sometimes we may feel as if we are lost, unsure of our path. But through it all, there is one truth that we can hold on to firmly. Allah's plan for us is always the best. Let us reflect upon this divine reality and understand why we must place our full trust in Allah, the best of planners. We live in a world where time seems to be our most valuable commodity. We are constantly chasing after moments, setting deadlines, and expecting things to happen when we want them to. We often feel like we are running out of time, and we get frustrated when things don't unfold according to our plans. But one of the most important lessons we must learn as believers is that Allah's timing is always perfect, even when it doesn't align with our own schedules. When we say Bismillah at the start of anything, we are declaring that we trust in Allah's plan. We trust that He knows what is best for us, and we trust that He knows when it is the right time. We sometimes rush, we sometimes push ourselves into situations, and we sometimes get anxious when things aren't happening fast enough. But have you ever thought about the wisdom behind the delays? Have you considered that maybe the things you're hoping for are not being delayed because of a lack of effort or because of some failure on your part, but rather because Allah knows what is best for you at every moment? Think about it. Allah is the creator of time itself. He is not bound by time, but we as His creations are. While we are limited by our understanding of what is right now, Allah sees the entirety of our lives from beginning to end. He knows what will happen tomorrow, next year, and beyond. He knows what is coming our way, and He knows exactly when we need certain things to happen for us to grow in the best way possible. When we begin to trust Allah's timing, we learn to stop rushing through life, to stop living in constant anxiety about the future, and to embrace the present moment with full faith that what is meant for us will come at the right time. It might be that we desire something so intensely we think it should have happened by now, but Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has decided that the moment isn't right yet. Maybe we don't have the experience we need. Maybe there are lessons we still need to learn. Maybe there are people we need to meet along the way who will play a role in our journey. We cannot see these things from where we stand, but Allah knows all the details of our life, and it is His perfect knowledge that guides every moment, every decision. Take a moment to reflect on your life and how many times things didn't work out when you wanted them to, but later on you realized that it was for your own good. Maybe you didn't get that job, but a better opportunity came along later. Maybe you didn't marry the person you thought you were meant to marry, but later you found someone even more compatible. This is the result of trusting in Allah's timing, and this is why we must surrender our plans to Him. The Quran tells us, and it may be that you dislike something while Allah places good in it. Quran 4:19. Sometimes we resist what Allah has planned for us because it doesn't fit our idea of what is best. But Allah, in His infinite mercy, sees things from a perspective that we simply cannot. What might seem like a delay, a rejection, or even a hardship in our eyes may actually be the best thing for us in the long run. Trusting in Allah's timing means accepting that He knows what we need and at what moment we need it. His plan is always more refined, more precise, and more loving than our own plans could ever be. Our role is to continue striving, to keep working hard, and to make dua, supplication to Allah, asking for His guidance. But while doing so, we must have the conviction that if something doesn't happen when we expect it to, it is only because Allah has a better time in mind for us. Trusting in Allah's timing requires us to have patience, to be calm, and to remain firm in our belief that everything will unfold as it should. This is where true peace lies, when you are no longer anxious about the future because you are content with the knowledge that Allah is taking care of it. Every step you take, every decision you make is a part of a grander plan, and that plan will come to fruition exactly as it is meant to. Sometimes we are given exactly what we need at the perfect moment, and other times we are withheld from things because Allah is preparing something even better for us. Allah's plan is designed to bring us closer to Him, to guide us on the best path, and to make us better versions of ourselves. And that, my dear brothers and sisters, is why we must trust His timing above all else. When you place your trust in Allah's timing, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop measuring your success by someone else's timeline. You stop looking at the clock and worrying that you're falling behind in life. Allah is not bound by the same constraints we are, and if you truly trust in Him, you will find peace in knowing that you are exactly where you need to be at this very moment. The rest will come in due time, and when it does, it will be exactly what you needed all along. One of the greatest lessons we must internalize as believers is that life will never be free from trials. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has decreed that we will face difficulties, challenges, and obstacles in our lives, and this is not something to fear nor something to run from. Rather, it is something we must learn to accept with a heart full of faith, knowing that these trials are a part of Allah's perfect plan for us. You see, as human beings, we are naturally inclined to seek ease, comfort, and tranquility. We desire peace in every aspect of our lives, whether it is in our health, our relationships, or our work. But what we often forget is that true peace does not come from a life free of problems. True peace comes from the ability to accept the trials that Allah has chosen for us, knowing that He will never burden us with more than we can handle. Allah does not burden a soul beyond that it can bear. Quran 2:28-6. This verse is not just a reminder, it's a reassurance that no matter how tough the road may seem, Allah has equipped us with the strength to walk it, step by step. When we face a trial, whether it's the loss of a loved one, a health issue, financial struggles, or any form of hardship, our first reaction might be to question why it's happening to us. We may ask, why me? Why now? What did I do to deserve this? But in those moments of confusion, we must remember that the trials we face are not punishments. They are a means of purification, of elevation, and of drawing closer to Allah. The Prophet Muhammad said, "If Allah loves a servant, He tests him." Sunan al-Tirmidhi. This means that the hardship you are experiencing, no matter how difficult, is actually a sign of Allah's love for you. It is an opportunity for you to purify your heart, strengthen your patience, and renew your reliance on Him. Our trials are not random or meaningless. Everything that happens in our lives, whether good or bad, has been planned by Allah with precision. When we face difficulties, it is easy to become consumed by despair, to lose sight of the blessings we still have, and to fall into hopelessness. But the truth is, these trials are a way for us to grow. Through hardship, we are refined just as gold is purified by fire. Just as the seed must endure the darkness of the earth before it can sprout and reach the light, we too must endure our trials before we can reach the higher levels of success and spiritual growth that Allah has planned for us. But accepting our trials doesn't mean that we resign ourselves to a life of hardship without seeking help or striving to change our circumstances. Islam teaches us to balance patience with action. It teaches us that while we endure with patience, we must also do our part, whether it is seeking medical treatment, working towards a solution, or improving our mindset. Allah does not expect us to passively accept our difficulties. Rather, He wants us to actively seek His help, to pray, to make dua, and to continue striving while trusting that the outcome is in His hands. There's a beautiful saying that a moment of hardship may be the cause of a lifetime of reward. Every test you face, every struggle, and every setback is not wasted. It is a stepping stone leading you to something greater. Sometimes we don't realize it in the moment, but the test you are going through now might be what leads to your spiritual awakening, what leads you to be more compassionate, more empathetic, more grateful for the blessings you had taken for granted. Every trial carries within it the seeds of personal growth and the opportunity to strengthen our connection with Allah. But to unlock that potential, we must first accept it as part of His divine wisdom. Remember that the Prophet Muhammad faced the most severe trials, more than any of us could ever imagine. Yet, despite everything, whether it was the loss of his beloved wife Khadija, the persecution he faced from his own people, or the loss of his children, he never lost faith in Allah's plan. He accepted every trial with complete trust in Allah's wisdom, and in his moments of hardship, he would turn to Allah in prayer, seeking comfort and strength. He taught us that our trials are not meant to break us, they are meant to build us. Patience during times of difficulty is not about passively waiting for the storm to pass. It's about actively choosing to trust in Allah's plan even when we don't understand it. It's about turning to Allah for support, making dua and relying on Him to give us the strength to endure. And while we may not always get the answers we want or the relief we seek, we are promised that Allah is always with us. And when my servants ask you concerning me, indeed I am near. I respond to the invocation of the supplicant when he calls upon me. When you accept life's trials, you stop asking why me, and instead ask, what can I learn from this? You begin to see each difficulty not as a burden but as an opportunity for growth, an opportunity for spiritual elevation, and an opportunity to renew your reliance on Allah. The moments of hardship in your life are not just obstacles, they are the keys that will unlock your greater potential and closer relationship with Allah. And when you approach each trial with this mindset, you will find that the burden becomes lighter, the path becomes clearer, and your heart becomes more peaceful. It is also important to remember that trials are not permanent. They are temporary, and just as they arrived, they will eventually leave. This world is temporary, and so are the challenges we face in it. But what remains forever is our connection with Allah, and in that connection lies our peace, our comfort, and our ultimate success. So, my dear brothers and sisters, accept your trials with the understanding that they are part of Allah's grand plan for you. Trust that He knows what is best for you, and know that every hardship you face will, inshallah, lead to a greater reward. Keep your heart patient, your actions sincere, and your faith unwavering. Through your trials, you will find the strength to become the person Allah intended you to be. Believers, we must understand that life is not just a series of random events. Each moment, every circumstance, every opportunity, and every hardship is part of a grand design crafted by the Creator. Sometimes we may not immediately understand why something is happening, why our plans are interrupted, or why things don't unfold the way we envision them, but there is one truth we must always remember. Allah in His infinite wisdom has a reason for everything that occurs in our lives, and His wisdom is far beyond our comprehension. You see, we are not meant to understand every detail of Allah's plan, and we don't always need to. Just as the child does not understand the wisdom behind every action of its parent, we too are limited in our understanding of the vastness of Allah's plan for us. And Allah is the best of planners. Quran 3:54. When we face difficulties or when things don't go as we hoped, we may question the wisdom behind it, but we must always remind ourselves that Allah's plan is perfect and it always serves a higher purpose, whether or not we can see it in the moment. Take a moment to reflect on the many times in life when you may have faced a setback only to realize later that it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe you didn't get that job you wanted, but later on, you found something even better. Maybe a relationship ended, but it opened the door for something more fulfilling. Perhaps you faced a trial that at the time seemed insurmountable, but in hindsight, you realized that it was exactly what you needed to grow and develop into the person Allah intended you to be. This is the wisdom behind every decree of Allah. He knows what we need even when we don't, and His wisdom is not limited by the small scope of our understanding. We are short-sighted in our view of the world. We see only a fraction of the picture, whereas Allah sees the entire story from beginning to end. He knows what we will encounter tomorrow, next year, and beyond. And so He arranges everything in our lives with the utmost care, even when it doesn't seem to make sense at the time. A beautiful analogy to remember is that of a master architect. If you've ever watched someone build something intricate, you know that the process is full of steps that don't always make sense in isolation. There are moments when things appear disordered, when parts of the structure seem unnecessary or out of place. But to the architect, every brick, every beam, every twist and turn is part of the grand design, contributing to the strength and beauty of the final structure. Similarly, in our lives, the things we experience, the good, the bad, the seemingly trivial, are all part of a greater design that only Allah fully understands. We may not see the full picture, but Allah is the master architect of our lives, and He is building us in ways we can't even begin to imagine. Sometimes, when we face a trial, we may be tempted to question why it is happening to us. Why is this happening now? Why not someone else? But what we must realize is that there is divine wisdom in everything. Allah does not test us with more than we can bear, and each test is designed to help us grow. The Prophet Muhammad, PPUH, told us, if Allah loves a servant, He tests him. Sunan al-Tirmidhi. So, when we face trials, we should not think of them as punishments, but rather as opportunities for growth. They are gifts wrapped in hardship, because through these tests we are purified, our hearts are softened, and our reliance on Allah is strengthened. There are times when we may feel lost, when the future seems uncertain, and when we don't understand why things are going the way they are. But the truth is that Allah, in His mercy and wisdom, is leading us on the best possible path. And perhaps you hate something while it is good for you, or you love something while it is bad for you, and Allah knows while you do not know. Quran 2:21-6. We may wish for things to turn out a certain way, but Allah knows what is truly best for us, even if it differs from our desires. What we see as a loss may actually be a gain in disguise. What we think is a setback may actually be a stepping stone towards something greater. It is important to remember that sometimes the wisdom behind a decree is not always revealed immediately. We may go through hardship or face challenges without seeing the greater benefit, but we must trust that there is wisdom in it. The key to embracing Allah's wisdom is to submit to His will with an open heart, knowing that He has the best interests of His servants in mind at all times. This is the essence of true submission, accepting that Allah's plan, even when it doesn't align with our expectations, is ultimately for our good. In life, we often make plans for ourselves, but it is Allah who decides what will come to pass. The best of planners is the one who knows what will happen in the future, and He has decreed what is best for us based on His infinite knowledge and wisdom. Our job as believers is to continue to strive, to do our best, and to make dua, but always with the understanding that whatever happens is by the will of Allah, and there is a wisdom behind it. The Prophet Ibrahim faced incredible trials, being thrown into a fire, being asked to sacrifice his own son, yet through it all he placed his trust in Allah, knowing that Allah's plan was better than his own. Similarly, the Prophet Muhammad faced hardships that no one could imagine, yet his faith in Allah's wisdom never wavered. He understood that every challenge was part of the divine plan, and that through patience, trust, and faith, Allah would lead him to success. When we accept that there is wisdom behind every decree, we begin to find peace in the midst of trials. We stop seeing hardship as something that breaks us, and instead we see it as something that builds us, refines us, and brings us closer to Allah. We learn to trust that Allah's timing is perfect, that His wisdom is limitless, and that His plan for us is the best plan. So, my dear brothers and sisters, when you face difficulties, when things don't go as you expect, remember that Allah's wisdom is behind everything that happens. Trust in His plan, for He is the best of planners, and His decree is always for your benefit, even when you cannot see it at the time. Know that Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has ordained for you exactly what you need, and through every test, you are being guided to something greater than you can imagine. Place your trust in Him and accept that everything that happens in your life is a part of His perfect plan. Brothers and sisters, life is a journey full of twists and turns, ups and downs, moments of joy and moments of hardship. But as believers, one of the greatest traits we can develop is gratitude. not just when things are going well, but gratitude in all circumstances, especially when life doesn't unfold the way we envision. It's easy to be thankful when we're experiencing ease, when things are flowing smoothly, but true gratitude lies in our ability to appreciate Allah's plan no matter what comes our way. You see, we are creatures of habit. We set our goals, we make our plans, and we work hard to achieve the life we desire. We expect things to go a certain way. But Allah, in His infinite wisdom, has decreed a plan that is far beyond our understanding, a plan that is designed to benefit us in ways we cannot always perceive. And as believers, we must learn to be grateful not only when we get what we want, but also when things don't go according to our plan. When life doesn't turn out as we expect, when we face trials or setbacks, it can be easy to feel frustrated, confused, or even resentful. We might wonder why Allah isn't giving us what we thought we needed or desired. But this is where our trust in Allah's plan comes into play. Allah knows what is best for us, even when we don't. And it may be that you dislike something while Allah places good in it. Quran 4 verses 19. What we see as a difficulty, a challenge, or even a setback might be exactly what we need in the long run. And this is where gratitude becomes an act of faith. True gratitude is not limited to the moments when things are easy. It is in those times of hardship, uncertainty, and disappointment that gratitude becomes a reflection of our complete trust in Allah's plan. Allah, in His infinite mercy, has promised us that He will never burden us with more than we can bear, that every difficulty we face is an opportunity for growth, purification, and eventual reward. Indeed, with every difficulty there is ease. Quran 94 verse 6. This verse is not just a reminder, but a guarantee from Allah that after every hardship comes ease, and it is in the waiting, the patience, and the trust that we find the true essence of gratitude. Gratitude in the face of Allah's plan requires us to acknowledge that whatever is happening in our lives is happening for a reason. Whether it is a trial, a delay, a challenge, or a hardship, we must remind ourselves that Allah is the best of planners and everything happens according to His perfect will. We might not always understand why certain things happen, but when we trust that Allah's plan is better than our own, we can find peace in knowing that He knows what is best for us. Consider the example of the Prophet Yusuf. His life was filled with trials that we could hardly imagine. He was thrown into a well, sold into slavery, falsely accused and imprisoned. If we were to look at his story from a worldly perspective, we might wonder why a prophet of Allah would go through such severe trials. But Yusuf understood something profound. Allah's plan for him was far greater than anything he could have imagined. Each trial he faced was part of a greater story, a story that would ultimately lead him to become a powerful and beloved figure in Egypt, a position that would allow him to save not only his family, but an entire nation from famine. What appeared to be a series of misfortunes was, in reality, the unfolding of Allah's perfect plan. And Yusuf demonstrated gratitude, not just in moments of success, but also in moments of hardship. This is a powerful lesson for us. When life doesn't go the way we want, when our plans are disrupted, we must remember that Allah is in control and He knows what is best for us. Gratitude is not just about appreciating what we have, it is also about trusting in what we don't have yet and having faith that what Allah has planned for us is better than what we imagine. Our job as believers is to remain patient, to continue to strive, and to be grateful for whatever Allah has decreed, knowing that He is guiding us toward the best possible outcome. Gratitude also involves remembering that the blessings we have are not to be taken for granted. Often we find ourselves so focused on what we don't have that we forget to be thankful for what we do. We forget the countless blessings Allah has already given us. Our health, our family, our sustenance, the ability to see and hear, and the countless other blessings that surround us every day. Gratitude means acknowledging that these blessings are from Allah, and it is through His mercy and grace that we have them. When we cultivate gratitude, we shift our perspective from one of dissatisfaction to one of contentment. we begin to focus on what we do have rather than what we lack. This is why the Prophet Muhammad taught us to be grateful for everything, even the smallest things. He said, "He who does not thank people does not thank Allah." Abu Dawud, being grateful to others, appreciating the kindness they show us, and acknowledging the good in our lives is an expression of our gratitude to Allah, for He is the source of all good. Gratitude in the face of Allah's plan also requires us to recognize the deeper lessons in the challenges we face. Every trial we go through is a chance to purify ourselves, to grow spiritually, and to become better versions of ourselves. The hardships we endure teach us patience, resilience, and reliance on Allah. They teach us to turn to Allah in times of need and to place our trust in His wisdom. It is through these tests that we learn the true meaning of gratitude, not just in moments of ease, but in moments of hardship too. In every trial, there is an opportunity to grow closer to Allah. Every difficulty, every setback, every moment of uncertainty is a chance to practice gratitude, to acknowledge Allah's wisdom, and to trust in His plan. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's an action. It's about continuing to worship Allah with sincerity, continuing to make dua, and continuing to strive for good, regardless of the circumstances. Second, when we do this, we align ourselves with Allah's will, and we find peace in knowing that whatever happens, it is part of a greater plan that is ultimately for our benefit. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let us remember to be grateful not only for the easy moments, but also for the challenges, the delays, the tests, and the moments of uncertainty. Let us trust that Allah's plan is always better than our own, and let us remain patient and content, knowing that He is guiding us towards something far greater than we can comprehend. May we be among those who are grateful in all circumstances, and may our hearts always find peace in the face of Allah's perfect plan. Brothers and sisters, one of the greatest blessings we have as believers is the gift of prayer, salah. It is not just an obligation, it is a direct line of communication with Allah, a moment of peace in our busy lives and a source of strength for our hearts. Yet, while we know the importance of prayer, there is another critical aspect of prayer that we often overlook: patience and persistence. When we stand before Allah in our prayers, we are not just fulfilling an obligation, we are engaging in an act of worship that requires deep patience, persistence, and consistency. You see, prayer is not just about the physical act of standing, bowing, and prostrating. It is about our hearts, our minds, and our spirits being fully present and engaged in that moment. It is about recognizing that we are standing before the Creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who is fully aware of every aspect of our lives and who has the power to change our circumstances with a single command. When we pray, we acknowledge that Allah is the ultimate source of guidance, strength, and support, and yet, how often do we approach our prayers with impatience, with distractions, or with a sense of obligation rather than devotion? Patience in prayer begins with understanding that worship is not always easy. Sometimes the mind may wander, the body may feel restless, and the heart may be overwhelmed with the challenges of life. It is during these times that we must remind ourselves of the importance of consistency and persistence in our worship. The Prophet Muhammad said, "The most beloved deeds to Allah are those that are done consistently, even if they are small." Sahih al-Bukhari. This is a profound reminder that it is not the length or grandeur of our prayers that matter most, but the consistency, the sincerity, and the persistence in performing them. How often do we find ourselves in a rush, performing the prayer quickly and without focus, simply because we are preoccupied with the world around us? It is natural for us to become distracted by our daily concerns, but it is in these moments that we must exercise patience and remind ourselves of the importance of slowing down, of being present in our worship, and of giving our full attention to the one we are standing before. This is where the persistence comes in, persisting in our focus, persisting in our humility, and persisting in the effort to draw closer to Allah with every single prayer. The beauty of Salah lies in its ability to connect us to Allah throughout the day. It is not just a ritual that we perform 5 times and then forget about. No, prayer is meant to be a continuous conversation with Allah, an ongoing dialogue that reflects our dependence on Him. Yet, this requires patience. Patience in the face of distractions, patience in the face of our own weaknesses, and patience when we feel that our prayers are not being answered immediately. Many of us may have prayed for something and felt that our supplications were not answered right away. We may wonder why our dua seem unanswered, why we continue to face the same struggles despite turning to Allah in prayer. This is where persistence becomes vital. Allah does not leave us unanswered. Call upon me and I will respond to you. Quran 40 but the response may come in different ways. Sometimes the answer is immediate, sometimes it comes later, and sometimes it comes in a form we do not expect. Yet, we must remain patient and persistent, trusting that Allah hears us, that He knows what is best for us, and that He will respond to our prayers in the best way. The Prophet Muhammad himself demonstrated incredible patience and persistence in his prayers, even in the most challenging of times, when he faced opposition, when he was in pain, or when he suffered loss. His connection with Allah through prayer never wavered. He would stand in prayer for long hours, sometimes until his feet swelled. Yet his devotion remained unshaken. This is the level of persistence and patience we must strive for, persisting in prayer no matter the circumstances, and being patient in waiting for Allah's response. Patience in prayer is also about learning to accept Allah's will. We may not always understand why things are happening in our lives, why our prayers are not answered immediately, or why certain things are delayed or withheld. But it is during these moments that we must remind ourselves that Allah is wiser than we are. His plan for us is always better than what we could ever imagine. When we pray, we are not just asking for a specific outcome. We are submitting ourselves to Allah's will, trusting that He knows what is best for us. As the Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, taught us, ask Allah for what you want, but know that He will either give you what you asked for or something better, or He will remove a hardship in return for your supplication. Persistence in prayer also means striving to improve the quality of our prayers. It's easy to fall into a routine where our prayers become mechanical, going through the motions without truly feeling the words we are reciting. But when we persist in our efforts to improve, to focus, to reflect on the meaning of what we are saying, we begin to experience the sweetness of prayer. The Prophet El-Fahih said, "The one who prays with qira'ah, humility and focus, has found the best of prayer." When we approach prayer with patience and persistence, seeking to improve each time we stand before Allah, we begin to feel the depth of connection, the peace, and the tranquility that prayer brings. Another aspect of persistence is our commitment to prayer, even when we are faced with difficulties. When life is difficult, when we feel lost, or when we face trials, it is natural to feel distant from Allah. But this is precisely the time when we need to turn to Him the most. Patience in prayer means continuing to worship Allah even when we feel like giving up. It means finding solace in prayer, knowing that no matter how tough life gets, Allah is always there for us, ready to listen, ready to respond. We must never give up on our prayers, no matter the circumstances, because prayer is the means by which we draw closer to Allah, and through that closeness, we find the strength to endure. Remember that the reward for persistent prayer is immense. The Prophet PBUH said, "Whoever prays and persists in his prayer, his sins will be forgiven, even if they were as much as the foam of the sea." Each time we turn to Allah in prayer, we are cleansing ourselves, purifying our hearts, and seeking forgiveness. But this is only possible when we approach prayer with patience and persistence, making it a consistent part of our daily lives, no matter the challenges we face. So, my dear brothers and sisters, let us persist in our prayers. Let us be patient when our hearts wander, patient when we face difficulties, and patient when we don't see immediate results. Let us approach every prayer with the understanding that it is an opportunity to draw closer to Allah, to strengthen our relationship with Him, and to find the peace and guidance we need. May we be among those who persist in prayer no matter the circumstances, and may our patience and persistence lead us to the highest levels of closeness to our Creator.